I have to admit, I hate Zillow. I mean, it's not personal. They don't really do anything to my personal business at all. I don't use them as a customer. I go on their website once in a while, check what their information looks like. I need to check it for my customers' listings. But I hate what they've done to our real estate industry in the 20 or 18 years or so they've been around. And I think they're emblematic of the bigger problems with our economy. So I'd like to talk about that today. But one of the things that struck me as I prepared for today, as I went through the news, was how many people are suing Zillow, and the variety of interests. And some of them I think are pretty accurate. I'm Bill Gross, and this is my weekly real estate update. You know, Zillow is the classic Wall Street venture capital funded. We're going to disrupt the economy, which really means put hardworking Americans who pay taxes and build communities out of jobs, so we can farm out all the work to technology and, more importantly, to foreigners. And if that's okay with you because you're making money on it, good for you. But for most of us Americans, when we wonder why cities struggle, states struggle, they don't have the tax revenue, people struggle to make money, one reason why is companies like Zillow use their monopoly power, don't help the customer, they don't put more money in anybody's pocket but themselves, they only pay fair share of taxes. I've covered that in previous episodes where the company's worth, I don't know, $18 billion, and it's paid basically no federal taxes to date. So, but more than that is I noticed how many different people are suing them. So I might bias out of the way. Let's go through that list. Last week, the Federal Trade Commission, federal government, is suing Zillow and Redfin for the merger where the two of them, the two largest listing sources of rentals, got together. And basically Zillow said, hey, if you stop competing with us, we'll put everything together, we'll pay you some money. And Redfin, who was basically bankrupt at the time, said, fine. What could be wrong with that, right? Well, what's wrong is that it hurts other people who are in the business of selling listings for rentals, servicing landlords, servicing renters. They're using their monopoly powers, and they're putting other companies out of business, taking advantage of it. And so finally, the Federal Trade Commission, to me this was obvious when it was done over a year ago, 2 years ago, finally is getting involved in that one. Now, after that lawsuit's filed, we had multiple states file lawsuits as well against them for the same reason, saying that same thing, filed violated state laws. And the states, I thought it was an interesting collection of states. Virginia, Arizona, Connecticut, New York, and Washington. I'm not sure what's in common with all of them. You have some from the very left and some from the very right. So it's kind of an interesting combination, saying that they think also Zillow is using its monopoly power unfairly to hurt, to violate state laws. Then on top of that, in July, the largest commercial real estate listing service, CoStar, great service that I do use for my commercial business, sued Zillow, saying that Zillow basically just stole digital images off their website and put them on Zillow to compete, and even kept the watermark, you know, the little lettering you see on photos sometimes to identify who owns them, appear on the majority of those 46,000 images. Well, how does a major corporation just steal another company's material? And why would Zillow put branded material from CoStar on their website? Somebody's asleep at the wheel, or somebody just doesn't care. And that's the nature of some of these big companies. They move very quick, they break things, that's the motto. But along the way, they're stepping on people's toes, robbing people of their livelihoods. And CoStar's another person, another organization that they kind of got on the wrong side of. Now, on top of that, they're being sued by Compass. Now, I think in this case, they're a little bit of a victim. Compass has their, we're going to hide your listings so we can make more money and take advantage of unknowing buyers and sellers. And Zillow didn't want to play along, saying that if the property had been marketed, that they didn't want to put it on the platform as being brand new because they knew that the whole goal of the program from Compass was to mislead. So this lawsuit I take with a grain of salt because I do think Compass is clearly in the wrong. I mean, just immorally wrong in this case. And then along the way, to go along with my thought on Compass, they falsely disparage competitors, including eXp Realty, along the way as part of the lawsuit. So yeah, I see their lawsuit as meritless, but still, you have Zillow being sued by the federal government, state governments, Compass, CoStar. And then now another class action lawsuit, I talked about this last week, where buyers would go on the Zillow website. It was obvious from the beginning it was a bait and switch, looking to talk to the listing agent. Many times buyers think they'll get a better deal talking to the agent who represents the seller, the listing agent. And Zillow purposely kind of misleads people in thinking that's who they're going to talk to. Really, they just want your data to sell it. That's their business, is selling your information. And they're going to sell it to, the listing agent is never going to call them back, or very rarely going to call them back. It's going to be somebody they sold the listing to, or somebody at best on their team that they're selling the listing to. And so now you have agents who feel like, well, I didn't get the agent I wanted to talk to. I got some other agent, and as a result, paid too much. And so there's a class action lawsuit. So if you add it all up, Zillow's being sued by the federal government, 5 state governments so far, more to come, Compass, CoStar, and a class action lawsuit for what's obviously, in my mind, a deceptive practice. You know, when Zillow started, they talked about being very high-minded and creating data and using that to help make the process more transparent. And their estimate was, at the time, a revolutionary thing. It's been copied by a lot of people since. It's not special anymore. It's not even good. It's not even real anymore, and I can go into detail on that. But they long past that, and they're now just a greedy, monopolistic, powerful bully who is being pushed back by, fortunately, I think, all kinds of other parties. And so at some point, I'm not sure where it leads. Can companies just get away with being bullies and violate the law? Maybe. Are companies going to be held to account? Maybe. We'll see. But certainly, the range of people suing Zillow, to me, tells me that sometimes where there's smoke, there's fire. And I think that's the case here. Okay, let's take a look at the general real estate market overall. I would say there's 2 parts to an economy: the demand and supply. Demand would be motivated by interest rates and measured by interest rates, and supply, how many houses on the market. On an interest rate market, they inched down a little bit, closing at 6.34 on Friday. So we're in the range of the lowest of the last year or so, and certainly at the bottom of the range of the last year or so, and it has created more buyer demand nationally. And certainly with rates this low, we expect more rate cuts that will encourage more buyers to come in the market. So overall rates remain low and seem to be favoring buyers in that regard. And then on the inventory side, how many homes are for sale? If you take a look, you'll see still we have statistics reported from August that show that our inventory is still, by any standard, historically low for this time of year, historically low for any time of year, any time other than COVID. We've never had this few listings for sale. So as long as that's the case, the thing I say is we can't have drops in prices because there aren't enough sellers to cut the price of their properties to make that happen. Now, real estate is very local. I use Altos Research for a good indicator on the local market. LA has been slowly going down. We were in the 40s during the COVID market, 38, 37 the last year or so, inching down 36, 35. And last week we hit down to 34, and we stayed there again at 34. So slight seller's market, but getting ever slighter here in Los Angeles. And this is the greater LA metro area. But you can go use this tool, Altos, and put in any zip code and get customized information for your area. Okay, general real estate market. I came across a fantastic tool. If you're interested in what's happening in the Palisades, as far as rebuilding or not, there's a great tool called palibuilds.com. And I saw this on a news story. And they have 2 things I thought were fascinating. One is they have a sales tracker, how many homes have sold in the area. This information I get, I'm a real estate agent, I have that information myself. And I'm not sure if these are houses, these are lots. It says lots sold 236 and it lists 232 homes. So I don't know if that means there are 4 empty lots that sold, or all these are empty lots, or none of them are empty lots. It doesn't really tell us what's being sold. Is it a former house was burned down, a fire damaged house, or a lot? That information is important. But what I thought was fantastic was the building tracker, building permit tracker. New homes approved by Los Angeles, 179. We're not going to build 10,000 in my lifetime. In fact, take a look at the numbers. Days since submission has been growing, so the city and county are getting worse on the ability to process applications. 31 days to 46 to 56 to 71 to 63 to 77. Now nobody's looking, or they're in summer. Interesting fact, I learned that the permitting department still is not localized in the Palisades. This is still downtown. And the employees are all still under COVID rules where they're working from home, not even in a building. And then the number of permits, yes, August first month, over 50 with 76. But these numbers are not going to get us to 10,000. So again, I thought it was fabulous to see. They have some great resources if you want to rent your lot out. Also, if you're looking for resources, list of builders and architects, you sign up. They'll send you the list. If you want to be a builder on their resource list as well, they'll add you. So a great resource. and I've gone through it a bit. I think it's really fantastic. Now, on the subject of rebuilding, a fantastic interview by the All In podcast. This is the podcast I listen to. It's fantastic. It's really focused on high tech and investing in venture capital in high tech. But they held their most recent event in Los Angeles, and they interviewed Rick Caruso, who's built some of the best real estate in Los Angeles. He built the Grove. My family have gone there many, many, many times. Seneca Place, Galleria in Glendale, some fantastic property. And he talked about, I thought it was fascinating, his preparation when he heard about the fires and why it's not an accident that his properties didn't get damaged as much as local houses. And I put this through a little service I used to summarize it. But here's what he did. One was he stayed in town. He heard about the fire. He had plans to leave, but he purposely stayed in town because he knew it would be a major effort, unlike our mayor who was out of town at the time. Two, he leveraged previous experience. They've had multiple fires. His property's all over the state. And he has staff in those positions, and he drew on those staff's experience and his own experience. Three, he hired private firefighters and resources. Now you might wonder, why could LAPD not have hired private firefighters and private water and other resources ahead of time? They didn't do that. Four, it's really interesting that he builds his buildings to be fire retardant. He assumes in case of a fire resources will go to houses to save lives, and he says, I'm fine with that, but I want to protect my buildings, and so they build it with certain materials and engineering and systems. More expensive. His properties are all very nice, but as a result, his properties are built to withstand the fires. Five, he pre-positioned firefighting equipment and supplies. We didn't do that in Los Angeles. We were responding, never got caught up. We had plenty of junkyard fire trucks that couldn't be used. We had famously reservoirs unfilled and fire hydrants that couldn't get water. Here he pre-positioned equipment and supplies, including water. Six, collaborated with the public fire departments. He actually says he gave water when they had enough and their properties under control. They actually gave water to the city to use. So those are the main points. I just think it's a fascinating interview. Rick Caruso is a fantastic builder, developer, community member, and I thought it was just interesting to hear somebody talk about his expectations of what he expects of himself and his organization in times of emergency. That if we all took that accountability, I think it'd be positive. How he planned ahead, I think was some great insight onto what leadership looks like or should look like, and clearly in Los Angeles at that time didn't look like. Okay, on the real estate market, adding housing, we have the city of Los Angeles now with a new proposal. In the midst of this construction disaster, we're not building the houses that burned down, let alone new houses. We're raising the minimum wage for construction. For multifamilies, it's going to be $33 and change, and then a required 25%, or about $7 an hour in medical care. And this is the way the unions can protect themselves. They make union employees get expensive medical care, and now they've unionized all the medical care jobs, so they're kind of guaranteeing more pay for those people. And so we're wondering, well, why are we building more houses? One is it's more expensive, and one reason why is the city is raising the minimum wages, not letting competition. Maybe we don't have enough contractors, and contractors might want to bid up the wages to get better employees. That's not happening in Los Angeles. The city is stepping in and telling the contractors what to do. Under also city waste, interesting story I saw in the West Side Chronicle. It talked about using motels and hotels for housing, which we've done for homelessness in Los Angeles over the last 3-4 years. And it costs $120,000 for a motel bed. That's what the city pays for motels, not for hotels. Works out to about $320 a night to put a homeless person for maybe a year in a motel. The city contracts for a year at a time. It's fascinating. I'm going to Miami Beach in a couple weeks. I'm not paying that much. I'm paying about $310 a night for a beautiful host hotel, walking distance to the beach. I think it's actually on the beach in Miami. And here in Los Angeles, we pay $326 a night in rat-infested motels for homeless people. We can't get a contract price and get discounts or Expedia or whatever. It's just amazing how the city overpays. And again, I think what's clear is all of this is part of the system. They overpay each other. We have the wages high to pay the union jobs at the hospitals. We have the motels overpaying, getting overpaid, but they cycle money back. It's all money laundering. And so there's really no end in sight that I see for our homeless situation. It's just a job, it's a business now, that a money laundering scheme that's going to continue to go on forever. And as long as there's money to be made in the millions, they'll continue to do it. So what do you see? Am I being negative here? I still see more homeless people. I don't see any reduction in that. I don't see housing prices going down. And I don't see new houses in my area, not much. If I can help, please reach out at LAProbate on social media. What do you think? What do you see? Let me know in the comments below or reply. As always, make today your best day ever. Thanks so much.